distance can be a major barrier to accessing quality healthcare on time. That's where Angel Flight East comes in. Welcome to Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East, a nonprofit dedicated to providing free flights for children and adults who need medical treatment far from home. We don't know how many people forego medical care because they don't have accessible transportation, and that's what this podcast is here to change. Join passionate AFE staff members Jess Ames and Maddie Beck as they share real-life stories from people who have used AFE services to get the care they need when they need it.
Hey, frequent flyers, we are back with another episode of Takeoff Talk. It is me, Maddie.
And me, Jess.
And we are both here today with one of our passengers, Yvonne.
Yvonne, I am so excited to have you on because I was just checking and you have been flying with us since 2015, which feels like forever ago. So if you can you tell our listeners a little bit about your medical journey and why you fly with Angel Flight?
Sure. So thank you, first of all, for having me, ladies. I just love you guys. In 2007, I was diagnosed with two rare conditions. One is called pudendal neuralgia. So the pudendal nerve controls the whole area that you sit on. So sitting for long periods of time is very difficult for me. And then I was diagnosed with what is called complex regional pain syndrome. And in that disease, they don't really know what causes it. There's probably a variety of things, but basically your flight and fight part of your nervous system goes into overdrive. So whatever parts of your body are affected will swell, they become discolored, they're very painful. Your spinal cord actually loses the ability to stop pain signals from going to your brain. So you are in constant pain. It never goes away, ever. It's just basically finding treatments to control it. And it's been a little bit of a long journey to get diagnosis and to get treatment. So when I first started flying with you guys, I'm probably going to jump ahead to your questions, it was in 2015, because I came to Philadelphia to see a specialist, Dr. Era Diaz, who specializes in complex regional pain syndrome. I waited almost 2 years to see him because he was so hard to get in to see. He was at Drexel at the time, and he wrote out a whole list of treatments we were going to do and try, because he said to me, you got a lot other things wrong with you besides just pudendal neuralgia and complex regional pain syndrome. And then I kind of got caught with his move because he left Drexel and then went to Vincere Institute. So he got there at Vincere in December. And I officially started types of treatment with him that January. And it took 2 years from the time I saw him to work through the whole treatment plan of what he wanted to try to kind of figure out other things that were wrong with me. And we did find some other surprises that no one else. And I had seen some really top-notch specialists in pelvic issues all over the United States. And they did couple of things just weren't on their radar, but he figured them out. And so then we ended up with a treatment plan, and a lot of it I still do to this day. So
I was going to say, when we onboarded you, you signed up when Dominic was our flight coordinator. And every time you fly to Philadelphia, you and Dominic still meet up, which I love that. It's just amazing that you guys have kept the friendship despite him leaving us to go retire and hang out with his grandchildren. So we miss him.
Yeah. It's wonderful because I go over to his house and chat with his wife and see the grandkids and his daughter. So yeah, it's been wonderful. I know I've never met you in person, I don't think, Maddie, because
no, I don't think so.
I don't fly into Bluebell because my brother moved to Westchester. So before, when I first started coming with my mom, we flew into Bluebell all the time, right to Wings. So we got to know everybody.
I know. I feel like I need to just now block out my calendar next time you fly in, because it's been so long. I've been with Angel Flight since 2018. So you're a name that's just like a staple name within our four walls. So I feel like I just need to come down to Westchester one day and just meet you in person, because I feel like I do know you, because we've been a part of this for so long with you.
Yeah. You guys have really been on this journey with me. And I do occasionally fly into Bluebell. One of the pilots who's flown me a couple of times recently flies in and out of Bluebell. And then I just Uber to Dominic's. So and go see Dominic.
I'm going to have to send him this episode. He's going to love it.
Right. We want to get in on that Uber. He hasn't fed us in a while.
Yeah. We want some of that seafood pasta he makes.
Oh, well, I haven't had that, but I don't do a lot of pasta. But yeah, he just goes in that kitchen and just gets out stuff and whips things up, and it's delicious. I'm like,
it's really impressive.
It is. It is.
So how did you get involved with Angel Flight to begin with?
So must have been about 2014. My dad was still alive at the time, and my mom was his primary caretaker. He had Parkinson's and was looking for help to come in to help her with him. And she had one of our local agencies called PACE come in. And I thought, well, I knew I was going to be coming to Philadelphia at some point and trying to find ways to travel other than by bus and train, because I personally cannot drive that far because of my inability to sit, and I have nerve damage to my legs, which my right leg can't press a gas pedal that long. So I asked the local organization PACE. I'm like, do you know any organizations that fly that I might qualify for? And she recommended you guys. And that's when I reached out to you.
That's
so
awesome.
it was probably closer to 2014 that I reached out to you guys, because, there's the paperwork that has to be filled out by doctors and attorneys. And the great thing about your organization, unlike a lot of organizations, you don't have a lower limit of income that you have to have. It's not income based. Most organizations are income based. So it was great because you guys are looking for people like me who I need medical treatment all the time. I can afford to come, a few times, but it adds up. I calculated at one time how much you guys save me, and it's an incredible amount of money over the 8
that's what
years.
we always say, because I feel like a lot of people think we're income based, but we always want to help people before they get to that point of maxing out their credit cards and everything. Because you're right, you could go a couple times, but if you have to go every couple of weeks, it's going to add up pretty quickly, probably quicker than a lot of people would imagine.
Yeah, because when you guys first started flying me, when my treatments really started with Dr. Aridias was January 2016. I think I came every 2 weeks for like 2 months maybe. And then it was once a month for a couple of months. And then I did every 2 months, I think, almost up until COVID hit. I was coming every 2 months. And since COVID, now I've been able to cut my treatments back to every 3 months. But in the interim and all of my flights to Philly, I had called Dominic and I said, I need to go to Cleveland Clinic. Would you guys also fly me to Cleveland Clinic? Because I needed to see a GI specialist there. And I also wanted to go to the functional medicine group there. So you guys also fly me to Cleveland Clinic. And that's been a little hit and miss how often I go, but it'll be more regular because one of my specialists who was in Rochester, New York, moved to Cleveland Clinic. So you guys will be flying me there at least every 6 months for me to go see her.
Twist our arm. We're always happy to take you on.
I know, but I felt funny calling down. I'm like, can you also fly me to Cleveland?
So since you've been flying with us since 2015, is there a favorite flight that you've taken or a favorite pilot? You can give them all the praise that you would like.
Oh, I will never pick a favorite pilot because I love them all. They're just all delightful, Favorite flight. It's really hard to say because I just love to fly. And I love all the different types of little planes I have flown in. Probably what I would say is my favorite time of year to fly is the fall because the colors are changing and it's just, you fly low enough. It's not like being in the commercial airplanes that you can't see what's on the ground when you're flying at 35,000 feet and the clouds are in the way. You're flying at 6,000, 8,000 feet and you can see everything. And it's just stunning to fly in the fall. So I love to fly in the fall.
That's my favorite too.
Yeah. And I absolutely will not pick a favorite pilot because I really don't have one.
Yeah. I know. I think that question's going to get us in trouble one day.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
It will.
Somebody's going to call us and yell at us.
Yeah. And my mom, because she can't fly with me any longer, she makes quilts for all the pilots for their planes. So
they are so appreciative. I think Tom Mellett called us the one time after you gave it to him, and he was just in awe that you and your mom did that for him. And they're beautiful too.
Yeah. And because, during COVID, you guys didn't fly. Well, passengers anyway for a while. So I have a whole lot stocked up, but I tend to get the same pilots because they'll watch for me. And, then you get in the plane and you're, how's your kid? How's the grandkids? And when did they, I knew your daughter was getting married. How was the wedding?
That's awesome. It's so great because I feel like every single episode is just everybody talking about how the pilots are the biggest portion of your support group. Like it could be no matter where you are, who you've flown with in the past, but every single one of your pilots has been the biggest part of your journey, I feel like.
Yeah. And they are. And so a couple of pilots that used to fly me quite often before COVID, I haven't seen them in a while. I actually asked Dominic about one of them. You know what happened? I haven't heard anything about him. He's like, oh no, he kind of off the radar. I think after, taking over family business, he just got too busy. I'm like, okay, that's probably why I haven't seen him. So
that's awesome. So what is your favorite part about working with Angel Flight?
You guys are very easy to work with. So I try to make sure I give you enough heads up and notice and send it to the right email. It
was a hard change. It was a hard transition. It was like flight, missions, Maddie, me, whoever you send it to, somebody will get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Send it to all of us at once.
Yeah. And it was really sweet because I had called for a flight for Cleveland back in May and then ended up driving. My best friend drove me instead. And David called because I called and canceled. And he's like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Are you sick or something? I'm like, no. It's just a change of plans. So that was very, very sweet of him to call and check in and make sure that I was okay and nothing major was wrong. But it's really easy. The pilots are really good because I tell all the pilots, if you have to cancel me, and I've gotten pretty good at reading the weather to know when I'm going to get canceled, that I need enough time because I want to take the train. I don't want to have to take the bus. I hate the bus. So, give me enough time so I can take the train and get a train ticket. But I have occasionally, I was at the airport one time and got the call from the pilot, the weather in Syracuse, it's in the winter. We can't get in. And so, those things happen occasionally.
If you didn't fly with Angel Flight, would you forego your treatment or would you do the train or a bus, however you had to get there?
Yeah, I wouldn't forego my treatment because if it was not for my treatments, I wouldn't be able to walk. So I would take the train. It's a lot easier to take the train to Cleveland because it's overnight direct from Syracuse to Cleveland and then a bright and early one from Cleveland back to Syracuse. Well, I'm home at 11:30 in the morning when I take the train from Cleveland. Philly's a little bit harder because it's a longer trip because I have to go to New York City and change it to Penn Station to then go to Philly. But no, I would take the train and I would plan far enough ahead so I wouldn't have to take the bus. I mean, my mom and I and myself have taken the bus because the train was full.
Amtrak is so nice because I feel like you can go literally anywhere on it. And it's so easy now, too.
Yeah, it's easy. And the nice thing is because it's so hard for me to sit for really long periods of time. On Amtrak, I can get up. I can walk down to get something to drink, a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom a half a dozen times just so I can get up. And usually rarely is it so full that I have to share a seat with someone. Occasionally it is, but that's pretty rare. Usually I can sit by myself and put my feet up. And
I only like taking the train with Maddie because I'm always nervous that I'm going to get on the wrong train and end up in the wrong location. I am not a good traveler, I should
Except
say.
for the one time that she locked herself in the train bathroom.
Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. And I had to call her from my watch and be like, you have to come help me get out. I can't get out. Yeah, I'm not an expert train rider. I like the train, but it's confusing
I love
for
the train.
me.
Yeah, I love the train, but locking yourself in the bathroom.
It's honestly almost impressive.
It is, because my grandkids could probably get out, Jess. Just saying.
You know, they probably can. And I have not used the bathroom on the train since.
Yeah, you wait for the stops that are longer and say, yeah, you can get off and have a smoke, and then you get off and run in. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So now, what is something that you would say to a healthcare provider that's thinking of referring a patient to Angel Flight?
As long as the patient doesn't have some type of limitation that they couldn't fly, or if they do have some type of limitation, as long as you guys know to try to meet it, like mobility to get in and out of a plane. I know it's a little harder for you guys. If you need to fly 6-seaters for somebody to be able to get in the plane, that's easier than climbing up on a wing to get in. That's probably the biggest thing for pilots and for medical providers, is the patient mobile enough to be able to get in and out of the plane? And if not, what kind of plane would they need to be able to fly into to be able to? Especially people who are immunosuppressed and really have have a lot of concerns taking public transportation.
Yeah.
Compared to, that's not my issue, but it certainly is for some people. You fly.
Yeah. We have some patients who it's just so dangerous for them for being immunocompromised going in. So it's super interesting. That's why I always like to hear from somebody who has to get the paperwork signed by their provider saying that it's safe for them and that it's the right option for them, to hear them have their own opinion on referring a patient to us. So thank you.
Yeah.
And then we have some people who will reach out to us. They're interested in a flight, but then they get a little nervous when they hear that we fly 4 to 6 seat airplanes, because I think when you say small airplane, people think, oh, it's a commuter jet, I'll be fine. So what would you say to people who are nervous about flying in a small airplane?
I have a couple of girlfriends that were nervous to fly. And I say to them, first of all, the pilot is never going to put their life at risk. They love life. They like life. They're not going to take a flight if there's any concern about the weather. And they know what their capabilities of their planes are. They know what their capabilities are. I said, it's no different than us knowing our cars, especially here in Syracuse in the winter. If you don't have 4-wheel drive and you have a light car, you're a little more careful about what kind of weather you go out in. I said, we know what our limitations are driving. So do the pilots know the limitations of their planes, what they can and can't fly and what their experience is. So I don't worry, because I know a pilot's not going to put their own life at risk to fly me. And so that has put a couple of my girlfriends at ease. Are like, I can't believe you fly in those little things. I'm like, it is so much better than commercial.
Yes.
So much better.
We are so spoiled.
Yes. And my mother, when she used to fly with me, when we would go to Virginia to visit family, she'd be like, do we have to fly commercial?
Yeah.
I hate going through commercial. I hate getting patted down. I just hate the terminal. Can't you get treatment in Virginia and have the Angels flight fly you? I hate commercial flights.
I know. So, even when we have to travel to go to conferences and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, do you think somebody will take me?
I know. You really do get spoiled getting picked up right where you need to be. And, most pilots will have little snacks, little water, but I'm always like, no, because if I drink anything, we'll be having to go down to Binghamton for me to have to use the bathroom. I'm not making it to Syracuse. So no, thank you on anything to drink.
I think the part that I'm getting the most spoiled on with flying with our pilots is TSA, because I am getting a little too comfortable not showing up early to get through TSA, and then not having that spare time to get to your gate and whatever. So I feel like I need to bring myself back to earth on that one.
Yeah. And most of the FBOs, they have really nice treats, popcorn and cookies. My husband always takes me to the billionaire here in Syracuse because he likes to stock up on all the treats they have there.
Yeah, their cookies are good. Oh man, I don't blame
I
him.
love that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So one last thing, I know a lot of people get nervous about turbulence, and to me, it's just pothole in the sky. You hit a
That's a
pothole with your
great
car.
description. Yeah.
It's just a change in air pressure in the sky. It's a pothole. So there's nothing to be afraid of.
That's true.
So turbulence, if it's a little turbulent, I mean, and the pilots are fantastic about trying to get at an altitude that they'll have as minimal turbulence as possible, because people will get. I've never gotten airsick, but I know some of the pilots have told me they've had passengers get sick if it's been a bumpy flight. But they really work very hard to try to get you at a nice smooth layer. And air traffic control, if they know they're flying an Angels Flight East client, they are really good about trying to get you direct as they can and make sure that you fly at a good altitude. I mean, air traffic control is really good to the pilot as long as they know they're flying a compassion flight.
Yeah, it's awesome. Our pilots, for the listeners, actually have a certain call sign. So it's automatically assigned to them. It's called the compassion call sign. When they sign up with us, they have their own number. And that's how the air traffic control knows what's going on in our flights and how to give us priority. Yeah.
Some pilots, though, some of the more modern planes, because they have a built-in transponder, cannot fly under the compassion flight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they just have to spill the beans over the microphone.
Right. So I say, make sure you tell them you're a compassion flight.
Yeah.
And they do. And I'm like, because I'm telling you, they're going to change this route that they're giving us to. The only time we didn't get changed was, I think, my last flight I came down. We got rerouted really crazy. Like the pilot said, I bet you President Biden is in Delaware. And that's why we're getting all rerouted. So
that's usually how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have to close off the airspace, even for us little guys. If it gets closed up. Yeah, don't want any of those F-16s flying by us.
Oh, yeah. That would not be good. That would be a story to tell.
Yes.
Yvonne, so you're basically an expert pilot. Yeah, you basically know everything about aviation that we do.
Yeah, pilot's licensed by association.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty bad when, I'm like, we're coming into Allen, especially if a pilot hasn't flown. I'm like, once you go over the hills there in Wilkes-Barre and we get into Allentown space, they're going to drop you to 4,000 feet. I've been flying far too long to Philly.
I love it, though. What is one final thought that you want to leave our listeners with?
I am just so thankful for you guys. You've really, just not as an organization, been wonderful, but as people, you guys are just wonderful. And I feel very blessed to have you guys in my life and part of my team to help keep me walking and functional and to have a quality of life that I thought in 2007 wasn't even possible. I appreciate it very, very much.
Well, we appreciate you. Yeah, we are so proud to be a part of your journey too.
And we're coming to Brandywine to meet you because I know they have the good snacks. They got Oreos.
Have you seen their coffee machine?
Yeah, and they got soda. I'm like, man, we are missing out here.
Yeah. I haven't flown into Brandywine in a while. I've been flying into Northeast Philly because I go see Dominic.
Man, they don't have any good snacks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story, and we always appreciate you.
And I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Oh, man.
Wow. I really want some of Dominic's cooking now.
I know. Dominic, if you're listening, invite us? At the minimum, we need it for Wings and Wheels will probably be done by the time you hear this. But we're taking it personally that we haven't been fed.
Yeah, we'd like to come over. I bet Debbie will let us come over.
I think we have to call Debbie and not Dom. That's the trick.
True. We have to get into their very busy schedule.
I would like to be retired because of how busy these retired people are.
They're busier than us.
I know.
I'm like, what do you do with all your time? And it's always volunteers, babysitting, going here, going there. I was like,
This is why retired people nap so much. I've decided.
That's true. Yvonne is so sweet. I can't believe she's been flying since 2015.
I know. I didn't have the heart to say it originally, but when she found out about us, I was still in high school.
Why do you have to say that? You're really hurting my ego here, you know?
That's exactly why I say things like that. I just like to pop bubbles.
Do you ever see that meme where it's like your friend is 1 year older than you and it's basically a normal person and then a grandma?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like we are. But we're both the same. You like to go to bed at 9 too.
I do. I do enjoy going to bed at 9. I enjoy long walks to the fridge and going to bed by 9.
Sometimes we stay up till 10, people. It gets wild, especially at the Trap Tavern.
Right. Or if you're from Beckley, West Virginia and you hear this, we'll meet you at the Mad Hatter.
I hope they get their wall fixed.
I know. Somebody drove right through their walls. There's no drag queen events and there's no pool nights. And the live music had to be canceled. All of the personality right out the window. I wonder if you still have to ring the doorbell now if there's no wall.
I don't know. I hope they don't get rid of that doorbell. That's my favorite part.
For those of you who have never heard the story of Jess and I going to Beckley, West Virginia for the first time.
We should have just ate the ice cream.
I requested to Jess that we go get ice cream one night. And she said, hold on, let me Google something. And she said, there's this place. It's a club. And so I looked at her and I said,
in my defense, I actually thought it was going to be a club. And you know, I always try to get us to go to weird nightclubs, but
I really don't think that we were
different.
Dressed for clubbing, but I was like, okay. So we go to this club and it looks like your neighborhood gas station, except there's no pumps. And you walk up and there's people outside and they tell you to ring the doorbell and somebody will let you in.
It's
so you
somewhere
ring the doorbell
where you would see and be like, we should probably just go home. But we were like, no, let's ring the doorbell.
So you ring the doorbell and then they come, they take your ID.
Everything. They take all your stuff.
Well, no, wait, they don't take the rest yet. Then once they check it and approve that you are 21, they let you in and then they take the rest of your stuff and make you go through the metal detector to get into the bar. It was not a club. There was live music and pool tables. So I guess if you want to call that a club, okay. But you can still smoke in there. So we were very upset. We had to go home and wash our hair again.
Yeah. It's a great time though. There's always somebody there.
Always.
And it's safe.
Always make fun.
I feel safe.
I feel safe
for the most
because
part.
You have to go through a metal detector and you don't bring things in through the metal detector. So it works out.
And the last time we were there, that's the time I tried to convince Maddie that we should give this very nice man a ride home because it was winter. And she told me no. And then I listened to a podcast of 2 girls that did that and it did not turn out well for them. So props to Maddie for being the responsible one in our relationship.
We aren't even going to talk about the time she tried to get a stranger to drive her home from Target in Ohio.
It was cold then too. I hate the cold. You were so mad at me that night. I just had to go home and like sulk like a little cat with my tail tucked. I joined that Facebook group and it is hilarious. It's so many cats and so many cat puns.
Please go back and listen to our episode with pilot Andy Chen so you can learn all about the earplanes and cats and people who appreciate aviation. And it's a time. I feel like we need to include the link to that Facebook page in the show notes.
I highly recommend everybody join it. Even if you're not a cat person, you should join it. But we hope you keep listening. And I actually looked up where these podcasts will be posted, but I still only remember Apple Podcasts, but it's a plethora of podcast streaming platforms, but I don't know what they all are. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, this will probably be on it.
Yeah. Find us there. We hope that you are enjoying yourself. Please be sure to leave us a comment, write a review, give us 5 stars. If you're going to be mean, send in an email. Don't send it in a review because we want people to actually listen.
Please send it to Andy Sears and not one of us. Andy is our
A Sears at angelflighteast.org.
He's the complaint department.
He is. But on that note, we will see you guys next week for another episode of Takeoff Talk.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode of Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East. If you want to learn more about our services, please visit our website at www.angelflighteast.org or call our office at 215-358-1900. Join us in our mission. If you're a healthcare worker or a patient in need of air travel and flight services, AFE is here for you. Subscribe to the show so you can hear more stories. Join us again next week right here on Takeoff Talk.